To say I got back from the Balkans safely. All of us did, bar one that had a little topple on the last day, so his bike's coming back a little bit later. So the Balkans trip worked really well actually. You know, we're sending the bikes down to Slovenia and then doing sort of 10, 11, 12 days down into Bosnia, Montenegro, Croatia. I think it worked really well for smaller bikes. So I've got a bit more footage to upload from that. But from a riding perspective, if nothing else, it's a great place to ride the Balkan. So if you can get down there, I certainly would. And I'll do a how-to video when I've got a bit of downtime. For now, I'm just getting this G650 GS ready to send to Malaga, which is going to be on the Morocco trip, which is, again, shipping bikes down to Malaga to avoid that long transit period, to mean that we can maximise our time in Morocco, which is going to be sort of 12, 11 days in Morocco. So flying to Malaga, pick the bikes up, get the ferry across, and then go all the way down to the bottom of Morocco and back up. Mainly on tarmac, maybe a little bit of gravel track, maybe a little bit of easy dirt, just to break things up. Got a good mix of bikes. Again, we've got some small bikes, got some bigger bikes, Tenere 700. But I thought finally it's a chance for this G650 GS to shine. I bought this last year. It was when I started, and I've lost momentum just through being busy doing other things. Looking at the cheaper end of the adventure bike market, because obviously there's lots of new stuff coming out. We've just seen the KLE 500. Everyone's guessing on price, but it's going to be at least $6,000. It's a lot of money to spend on a bike that you're going to take to a foreign destination and potentially get lost, stolen, or ruined. So there's a lot of merit still in these older bikes. I picked this up for 2,250. It's done 17,000 miles. It's got heated grips. It's built at a time when BMW was still building solid budget entry-level bikes, let's call it. But even this, taking into account for inflation, probably be about £9,500 now. So this wasn't a cheap bike. It just shows that our wages and cost of living has not caught up with, or has not kept pace. So actually, the new bikes coming out at £7,000, which we think are expensive, are actually cheap compared to what we used to be paying in 2012, 2011 when this came out. This has got a Chinese engine. Again, interested. This was the first breed of BMWs to feature a Chinese engine, a copy or a replication of the what's it called? The oh god, I always forget the name. The engine that was built in Austria, that was built in China for this bike. It'll come to me in a second. The Rotax engine. I suspect it's going to be good on the open road. It's a punchy engine. I did sell the cross country that I had. I just bought that as a bit of an experiment, so that had got a bit more power than this. I think this is like, 52, 51 horsepower. But I found it really brisk on the open road. Weight-wise, it's less than 200, so it feels sort of like Himalayan 450 weight, but with a bit more power. So that's how I've kind of weighed it up. Good brakes, good comfort, decent screen. I think for pootling around Morocco, I think it'll be absolutely fine. We've got a backup van on that one. There's a local van, man with a van, following us along on that trip, just in case we have a breakdown out in the middle of Morocco. So I won't have to carry too much luggage, just bits and bobs. It's a hotel trip, so again, won't need too much stuff. But the whole point with this bike is just to say, hey, adventure's got expensive. Like, people accuse me sometimes if I'll say a bike's cheap at 7,000, like that Vogue 800. I think maybe I commented that it was cheap, and people say it's not cheap. It's just, and I get the point. It's not cheap. £7,000 disposable income these days is a hell of a lot of money. I'm blessed to run these as a business, so I lose sort of sense of the perspective a little bit. But what this shows is that if you ain't got a ton of money, you've got £2,000, £3,000, whatever, or 1,500, you get the F650, the earlier version of this, for 1,500 quid. I mean, I've got Rob, who's come on quite a few tours with me this year. He's been riding a 1,500 quid F650 with no problems at all. So even this at 2,250 is more than you need to spend. So it's just a reminder of that. So I'm really looking forward to getting this into Morocco. Just feeling a bike in context, because we're assessing bikes dry. We're looking at spec sheets, and we've already decided whether that new KLE is for us or not, or whether the spec sheets will mean it's as good as a CF motor or whatever. But context decides all and defines all. I've just been in Balkans on that Motor Marini X-Cape, a bike that the spec sheet just means that nobody looks twice at. 60 brake horsepower, 230 kilos. But I've got to say, on that Balkans trip, it was just a perfect bike for all occasions. Great on the gravel, great on the road, on the twisties, and then good on the motorway. So, best of all worlds, really, and not an expensive bike. So we've become besotted, obsessed with what the spec sheet says, and lost sometimes perspective on the fact that if a bike works in the context in which you put it, then it's a good bike, irrespective of what anybody else, a reviewer or a spec sheet says. So, yeah, really looking forward to getting this out there. The bikes will go out to Malaga. They're all up there. The shipping company now, Shipio, who put them all in stillages, and they get put on a big loader, and then to get driven down to Malaga, offloaded there. We'll pick them up and then do it in reverse when we come back. It just means we haven't got that big schlep down through Spain and that expense of the ferry, so it works out about the same as if you were going to ride down on the ferry. I don't know what it would work out like if you were doing it solo. I don't think it would work. Economies of scale, obviously we're taking a fair few bites, so it works out quite a bit better, but it's something worth speaking to them about. But that's it, back in one piece from Balkans. It was a long trip. You know when a trip feels, when time extends, when 2 weeks feel like a month or 2 months, it means like that you're packing a lot in, and I think it's tiring at the time and stressful at the time at times, but it means you've had a lot of adventure, you've had a lot of things happen, and I think we did. Border crossings, mountains, trails, coastal roads, good food, a mix of accommodation, you know, great people along for the ride. So that's it, get this bad boy load up in the van, long drive up to Northampton tomorrow. It's becoming my spiritual home, Northampton. And just as a little segue on the end, I shall be picking up a bike to test tomorrow that begin with the letters DRZ and end with the numerals 400. So we'll see how that goes. I'm intrigued. Will it be better than the KTM 390 Enduro? It won't be hard, I've got to be honest. It won't be hard. That's a different story for a different time. Another story for a different time. All right, take it easy.